girl in town walking into the room. We put her in red so you'll notice her, and in 30 seconds, she has to make an impression on you.
A fledgling company, New York Air, is declaring war on a giant, Eastern Airlines. New York Air's President Neil Meehan thinks that he can break Eastern's monopoly on the highly lucrative air shuttle service out of New York. Eastern President Frank Borman thinks Meehan doesn't have a chance. Tonight on Enterprise, dogfight over New York.
I'm Eric Severide. For as long as I've lived in Washington, the Eastern Shuttle has been the only easy way to get to New York in a hurry. But in 1978, the deregulation of the airline industry ushered in a new era of competition. What was Eastern's virtual monopoly on the Washington, New York, Boston route has now become a free-for-all. This week, Enterprise follows the shuttle's first challenger, New York Air, as it sets up for business and takes on Eastern. It's a story of frustration, risk, and retaliation, but it's also a story of shrewd corporate strategy. Diminutive New York Air, a fraction of the size of Eastern, cannot afford to compete head-on. Like any new business, it must carve out its own segment of the market. And in the most aggressive way possible, that's just what it's trying to do. This week's Enterprise focuses on the freewheeling newcomer as it seeks to invade the territory of the less flexible corporate veteran. It's a classic case of business competition.
New York City, center of the Northeast Corridor, the most heavily traveled air route in the world. Each year, 1.5 million people fly back and forth between here, Boston, and Washington. For 20 years, Eastern Airlines has controlled these skies with a special product, the shuttle, which guarantees a seat and has ticketing on the plane. President Frank Borman has good reason to be proud.
For the past 2 years, more people have chosen to fly Eastern than any other airline in the free world. If we want you to keep flying Eastern, and we do, we have to earn our wings every day.
Eastern Airlines didn't exactly roll over and play dead when New York Air happened to show up.
Neil Meehan, president of New York Air. He reminds newly hired employees of the ever-present Eastern challenge.
They did say, and this is a quote from Frank Borman, that New York Air would be out of business within 6 months. That gives us until June 19th of this year, and we fully intend to take a full-page ad in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Boston Globe, and the Washington Post saying, Frank, you were wrong again.
2 months until the inaugural flight. At this point, New York Air's small executive staff of 10 resembles a fraternity. They must work long into the evening on how to grab their share of Eastern's $100 million New York market. Within 60 days, they must start an airline from scratch, train staff, create an ad campaign. They're looking to slice off 10 to 15% of Eastern shuttle business.
The first 1,000 Eastern shuttle passengers on the 14th, we're going to give them a free New York Air ticket.
In New York or Washington?
In
or
both.
How
Both
are you going to do
places.
that? You're going to stand out there and give them a free
We are going to stand out there handing out tickets and timetables. It's going to be wicked. That's right. I mean, he definitely misses.
Why is giant Eastern Airlines worried about New York Air? Eastern has assets of $1.5 billion and 39,000 employees. But management knows that the 1980s are putting the squeeze on large airlines. Labor costs are high, fuel prices are soaring, their planes are aging, and fewer people are flying. It's tough enough without new competition.
Can't very well put that in an envelope.
They call him the Colonel and pay him close to $500,000 a year to run the sprawling empire. He is former astronaut Frank Borman. His airline lost $40 million last year, and there is not much hope for profit in 1981. The one bright light in this financial gloom is the ever-profitable air shuttle.
We have a unique product. There's no other airline service that provides a guaranteed seat. And we've done surveys, and when you look at the reason for the success of the shuttle, you finally come to the fact that we have a product that has not been duplicated and that people like. And we have a large number of around 8 backup airplanes, which means we commit at new prices over $100 million simply to provide that guaranteed seat. Now on the heavy days, it's almost continuous turnaround. Obviously, we don't want to lose one single seat, So we'll just have to wait and see. 10 to 15% would be an important loss to us, and it's very difficult to justify $100 million of backup airplanes flying 2.5 hours a day for a unique product.
Frank Borman is particularly nervous about this man's involvement in New York Air. As president of Texas Air Corp, 38-year-old Frank Lorenzo is the key to the new venture. He is the brains and the money behind New York Air.
We have the good fortune of being able to make very long-term plans at Texas Air Corp. Texas is very well funded. I mean, at the present time, after capitalizing New York Air, we have over 90 million of resources.
10 years ago, as consultant to the nearly bankrupt Texas International Airlines, Lorenzo was starting from scratch. Within his first year, he was president. Within 4 years, the airline was making money. Even his failed attempt to buy up National Airlines earned him $46 million when he sold to a higher bidder. He is a man to be reckoned with. Forbes magazine has called him Lorenzo the Presumptuous. His associates call him very ambitious.
The interesting part about this venture is, you know, the market's there. All you have to do is take a walk right over to that Amtrak train and see all the people getting on trains going to Washington to know that something's wrong. In most places in the country, people still don't get on the old clackety-clacks to go spend 4 hours, 250 miles, or go over to the shuttle terminal and see the lines going on Eastern.
Eastern Airlines came up with the idea of the shuttle in 1961. Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, then chairman of the board, objected. He called the shuttle nothing but a damned bus service. But the market was business travelers with expense accounts. They wanted convenience and could pay the price. This year, the shuttle is 20 years old and has carried 51 million passengers.
It's kind of famous as well, though, the shuttle, you know. I mean, it's mentioned in the Post, it's mentioned in the Times, it's mentioned in the newspapers.
Eastern's advertising agency, Young and Rubicam, must now remind the public of the shuttle's unique advantages. For them, Eastern Airlines represents a $40 million account.
Your uply mobile Greenwich, Connecticut businessman commuting down to Grand Central every day. He gets on the same plane, on the same train every morning. He recognizes his fellow passengers. He'll sit down, he'll open his paper, and that's it. He doesn't want to be disturbed or interrupted. It's his routine.
But they all wanted to be able to get to the airport as close to flight time as possible, get on the plane without any hesitation or any stops, get in their seat, get about their business, have the convenience of being able to get their ticket while they were in the air, not as an extra step.
We can have a meeting just as we're having right here. Right. I don't have to keep looking at my watch. I know that if I leave now, within the hour, I'm going to be on my way.
Not every airline can compete with that.
New York Air, this is Karen. No, I don't.
5 weeks before the inaugural flight, New York Air's reservation office at LaGuardia Airport.
January 11th.
The computers have yet to arrive, the switchboard must be installed, and there are no airplanes.
Service will begin approximately January, February.
But New York Air already has something to sell, reserved seats on its 10 daily round-trip flights. Unlike Eastern, it will also offer drinks and snacks on board, and most importantly, lower fares.
Saturday and Sunday, the fare is $29 one way, $58 round trip. No, I'm not.
This is clearly a different product from Eastern Shuttle. But will the public see it as different enough to make the switch to New York Air?
Our lines are a bit busy. Would you mind holding one moment, please? Thank you. Back to you.
In fairness to Eastern, our market research indicated that there is a hard core of what we refer to as the shuttle addict, and people that'll never probably do anything but travel on the shuttle between New York and Washington as their means of basic transportation. But our research also indicated that there's a large segment of that market that want an alternative, they want a choice, and they want better service. So we'll be able to get in. We're not predicting that the shuttle will be out of business in 6 months, that's for sure.
Eastern's Frank Borman knows that the market for the shuttle is well established.
Well, you won't see that, and I promise you that we won't be giving flights for a kiss, and we won't dress our flight attendants in hot pants. We're not going to capitalize on sex as a marketing method.
That's terrific. One more. It's your turn now.
New York Air has no such inhibitions. At Bloomingdale's department store, young and attractive employees become part of the package.
Oh, you're super. We're going to change your hair around, I think, today.
Today,
We're going to do an exercise where you're all passengers. Forget your flight attendant for a few minutes, unless you're one of these four. They're going to really remember. Each of you has a sign, and I guess you've chosen to be what maybe you fear seeing the most, whatever. You get to be it just once.
Now I have 2 flights, and I can give you that $29 one-way fare. Yeah, I'd love to.
It isn't perfect. Let's try and find out what the ideal is.
Let's see, we have a difficult passenger. I'd like to have you decide how you're going to be difficult.
Bitchy.
All right. Okay.
More slender profile, a more realistic shaped head.
Fresh female. I love it.
It's the spoiled queen.
Oh, I know one we don't have at all. The person who wants to hold their bag, do we have that? The person who doesn't want to... Oh, of all things, we've worked on that over and over. Let's do that one.
Lighten the top, darken the underneath.
Go right inside the flight.
Inside where? I have to have my own seat.
How old are you? How old are you?
6. They left me here alone.
Oh, you're not by yourself. I'm here with you.
I don't like to fly. I probably will never fly again. When are we going to land? I really feel sick. I have to go home.
And that it's a new airline, and I'm new to the airline, so we both start from the beginning.
Starting from the beginning, New York Air hires only young employees. Eastern's unionized flight attendants are older and get paid more. An Eastern senior flight attendant can make almost $2,000 a month, while these New York Air employees will start at less than $800 a month. Lower labor costs are the key to the new airline's ability to offer lower fares. Three weeks to takeoff. Working from a rented house near LaGuardia Airport, Neil Meehan and his head of flight operations begin another 18-hour day. There are hundreds of pages of the flight manuals yet to be written. The pilots are still being trained and must be certified. New York Air has yet to get permission to fly out of Washington. The advertising campaign must be finalized. And the airplanes have yet to arrive. It promises to be a long, hard road to the middle of December.
Now, all lines are on the UCD now, right?
That's right. That's right.
He's paying $5,500 a month.
As is often the case with new ventures, management is young and aggressive. They work on an incentive plan and will share the proceeds if New York Air shows a profit.
4:30 and 5 on the band 5 in Watts line.
And so on and so forth.
Will the words that go along with that song clearly identify us as an airline? I mean, that's pretty, and we know it's New York Air, but you only hear air. You only hear air twice in there. But, you know, if I had heard that when I was walking down the hall, I wouldn't know it's an airline.
Well, the point is, I think clearly this will never run as you just heard it.
There'll always be some talking. New York Airlines, LaGuardia, Washington, Boston, Albany,
San Francisco.
Rio de
So steady.
With less than 2 weeks to go, the first plane arrives.
Okay, this is a rehearsal.
I can't do the whole commercial for you, but what you see here, we're going to have this airline taxi down, and we'll cut it to the beat of the music, so it'll go, you know, da 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 da. Okay, and then we'll cut to the stewardesses and say, you know, and as the music says, we're spreading the news, and they have dramatic costumes. They'll open their costumes and they'll just spin around, and then we'll cut to the pilots as we say, we're flying today. Come on, be part of it, and then we'll cut to inside shots.
Okay. Screen direction. Camera left, camera right. That's
Right.
what I understand.
And when we do the 8
The attitude of the personnel, all are going to establish a personality. New York pleasant, not New York snotty and nasty, but it's going to be the kind of New York that people like to see, the up New York, the kind of Broadway beat.
We're spreading the news. Hey, we're flying today. Come on and be a part of it. New York, New York.
You'll
Eastern love the low fares and snazzy service and the way we shuttle between LaGuardia and Boston and Washington's National Airport.
New York Air.
A free cup of coffee on a 45-minute flight. That's terrific, isn't it?
We're not selling cute stewardesses. We have a lot of competent, all of our flight attendants are competent. They're trained to be, they're not trained to be cute. That's secondary. They're trained to give you a good, safe flight, a comfortable flight. When we question people and ask whether they're willing to give up onboard ticketing in lieu of coffee and a Danish or a snack, the answer is no.
Overwhelming. You know, they haven't advertised in 13, 14 years of the air shuttle, and I've been looking at it. They must have spent about $150,000 already in advertising the air shuttle just recently in full-page ads in the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Yes, that's right. We have done something that we hadn't done in a while. We've tried to point out the fact that the shuttle is alive and well, and we're not taking it as for granted as we used to. I know it's in here. There it is. Shuttle diplomacy.
What do you think about it?
The secret is knowing what to say and then not saying it.
I mean, it's a ride. I know many Eastern employees very well, and they're very fine, so I won't comment about an ad that says that Eastern doesn't want its employees talking to you. But I guess I have to be honest and say that sitting here today, I know that in 14 days, we're going to be putting 20 flights a day in the air, at $60,000 a day of expenses that we'll be risking. Even right at the present time, we're probably now up to $500,000, $750,000 a month in overhead, and you know, you hope that pretty soon some revenue will start flowing to balance against that.
We're in the final countdown, as we all know, and let's just concentrate on the major issues, if there are any. Okay. Bill?
All right, just a couple of things as far as status is concerned before we hit the major problem issue. The first aircraft was delivered over the weekend, and it is in pilot training.
You need a phone in the stock room. You need telephones at the gates. I understand Telco showed up this morning. I greeted him at the door.
Yesterday was a good day for me, and I needed it.
With 1 week to go, Eastern attacks. It matches New York Air's fare for part of the weekend, aiming at a new market, the non-business traveler. But Eastern has decided not to risk an all-out price war, which would end up hurting it far more than New York Air.
They can do what they want. We're here to stay, and I think we're prepared on a contingency basis to react to whatever program that they might put into place.
Well, we will have some surprises in the market. Deregulation is here.
The final days and the huge job of putting together the airline has come down to a mass of frenzied details. The TV and radio spots have been placed, the computers and phones are finally working, and the reservations are coming in. All that remains is the go-ahead from the Federal Aviation Administration. December 19th, New York's LaGuardia Airport, gate number 16. A second-hand DC-9 and New York Air's first flight, New York to Washington. But for the executives of New York Air, the moment of triumph is a grand anticlimax. An empty inaugural flight from New York. They blame red tape, but New York Air could not meet its own deadline, and this first flight had been delayed a week. They salvage a publicity celebration for the return flight from Washington. Here, they have advertised heavily.
To New York Air's inaugural day, we're very pleased to be providing the service that we advertised to the public today, and we look forward to continued service in this market.
The flight back from Washington is full, but New York Air's profit depends on filling 65% of the seats day and night, week in and week out. Either Eastern loses passengers, the market expands, or New York Air goes out of business.
Neil, how did you react to Eastern's lowering its fare?
I thought it was great, especially when they said that we had nothing to do with it. But no, that was good, because that's exactly what we had talked about earlier, about stimulating the market. It's happening. And everybody's benefiting now from that $29 fare.
Well, what happens if you get into a price war?
We're ready for it.
Just before landing at LaGuardia Airport, we will be flying over Shea Stadium, home of the New York Mets and the New York Jets. Thanks to fly for a long time, and we hope you'll be with us.
Now I'm starting to feel a lot better.
They don't have any magic wand, and they don't have any secret. It's they'll start out with non-union labor, and they'll start off with more cramped seating on the airplanes. We'll see how long it lasts.
New York Air's first week of operations and labor problems are already emerging. Angry Texas International employees accuse Frank Lorenzo of breaking his labor agreements in his drive to expand the Texas International empire.
This New York Air operation is a runaway shop. This is Texas International's management people, Texas International money, Texas International aircraft, and they've simply left the unions behind on the Texas International property, and it's a runaway shop. They came to New York and they applied for the routes from New York to Washington in the name of Texas International Airlines, and in the matter of the slots that they received here at LaGuardia Airport, they were granted in the name of Texas International Airlines. They simply handed all that over to New York Air so that they could try to escape allowing the union people to come up here and perform the work.
And we're not doing it on the backs of labor. Our first officers and captains, for example, are being paid a fair and equitable wage. They're not banging on my door telling me they can't feed their kids. In fact, to the contrary, they're very happy and excited. But there's no question that what we have done was basically establish a new airline in the Northeast with our own identity, completely separate from Texas International. And the reason we were able to do it was because of the Airline Deregulation Act. Even if we were to become unionized tomorrow, I'm fully confident that we'd be able to negotiate a contract that was met the demands of the economics of the 80s, not the economics of the 50s and the 60s.
For all of New York Air's employees, the economics of the 1980s means dramatically less pay. An Eastern pilot typically earns $75,000 a year. The non-unionized New York Air pilot, flying more hours each week, is paid only $30,000. Eastern management, however, has little room to maneuver, and hard as it tries, can cut only a small percentage of its labor costs.
We have responded extremely well to the increased competition, and we have made some very precedent-making arrangements with our employees. We had a wage freeze in '75. Our employees are now involved in a variable earnings program where if they, well, let me use an example. If you make $100 a month at Eastern, we only pay you $96.50. At the end of the year, if we meet our profit objective, we refund that $350 a month to you that you didn't get. But if we don't meet our profit objective, we keep it and subsidize profits.
January 6th. With New York Air now 3 weeks old, Eastern has made a bold bid to hold its place in the market. It is giving shuttle customers half-fare coupons on Eastern flights to the West Coast.
Our response to them was somewhat a little bit tongue-in-cheek, whereby, number one, we offered a bounty of $15 for every Eastern Airlines coupon, and in addition, we gave out our own coupon. For example, good for a free continental breakfast, and it says, New York Air serves this on 2 early morning weekday flights. Probably will not be accepted on the Eastern shuttle, but at least they'll know you're hungry. We didn't expect to draw a lot of coupons. In fact, we got very few because immediately the commodities market took over and their value got up to $25, $30, up to $40.
I'm buying coupons. Anyone selling a coupon?
Eastern coupons are a huge success. They can save passengers up to $200 on coast-to-coast flights and are eagerly bought up by street entrepreneurs.
How much are you paying for them?
For 2 of these, I'm buying coupons, sir. Buying coupons. Anyone have a coupon?
Even officials of New York Air said they were overwhelmed by the crowd that started lining up Saturday and grew overnight to almost 1,000 inside the
February 15th, and local television records New York Air's final offensive. It regains the initiative with a gimmicky 29-cent fare for its first New York to Boston flight. The TV stations love it, and so does the public. New York Air can't always count on crowds like this, but if its regular low fares can secure as little as 15% of the market, Eastern will not be able to match the low price without losing an enormous amount of revenue.
And a new airline settles into the task of trying to make it in a very competitive industry.
The alternatives are clear. Either the market expands or New York Air will take passengers away from Eastern. It is a competitive situation with a winner and a loser. But before the results are in, everyone is a winner, and everyone sings the praises of competition.
The sovereign master is the marketplace, and that's pretty exciting. The marketplace will either accept or reject your idea. You can do well, or you can not do well, or you can fail.
But that's fine, and the market will decide whether their product is the preferred one or ours. And if they have a great deal of success, obviously it will behoove us either to change or die.
New York Air lost $1.5 million in its first 3 months of operation. It claimed this was a moderate success, and it expanded its service to other cities in the Northeast. It also raised its fare to Boston and Washington from $39 to $44. It flew with a load factor of 62%, close to break even. Eastern claims to have lost no passengers on its shuttle routes. Frank Borman has discussed merging with troubled Braniff International Airlines. Meanwhile, he has been discussing the purchase of a new generation of airplanes. Frank Lorenzo tried to take over yet another airline, Continental, which successfully resisted his efforts.
This program was presented by WGBH-TV, which is solely responsible for its content.